Hello everybody, welcome to another show, Blink and You'll Miss It. Today I was supposed to be having my brother Gary on, and we were going to talk, I think we were going to talk about knife crime and how it affects youngsters and things like that. But Gary dropped me in it there. He just phoned me an hour ago and he says that he couldn't make it. So I've just decided to try and go on the flow with myself. As you know, I take a lot of talking to myself anyway, but as long as you don't answer yourself back. So we'll get started. Knife crime. There's been a lot of it going on recently and all through the years, and there doesn't seem to be a solution for it. But I've came to an age where I think I might be able to give a wee bit of insight into it in my past, and I'll speak about Gary's past as well, because he's been involved in it as well. But I was just thinking there last night a wee bit about it. How does this all start with the youngsters and all that? And I can only go back to my childhood. I had a great childhood, by the way. 2 brothers and a sister. And I was born in Springburn, but moved up to Provenmill, Blackhill. And the house in Springburn, it wasn't a house, it was a flat, and with the toilet outside, down the stairs, and me and Gary used to share a tin bath. So when we moved up to Provenmill, it was one of the 4 in the block houses, and the neighbour down the stair, the Mondays, and it was brilliant. It was 2 bedrooms with a back garden, a bathroom, and we were like, this is great. So anyway, we had a good childhood. So just behind my house in Greenwig Street, there was a canal there, which a lot of the young ones and that don't know these days. This canal, it started at Ridgeway Primary School, where I was to go to, and it ended up going up all the way through Ridgeway, up through the Crazy, Easterhouse, and I think it went to Baileyson. So years later, the canal was all getting drained and dug up, and it's now the M8 motorway, if anybody doesn't know that. But the reason I'm mentioning that, I'm just trying to give you a wee kind of a figure out our childhood. We spent a lot of our childhood down at the canal. We'd have bows and arrows. There was a lot of water rats and all that in the canal. And me and Gary and all my friends and that, we were trying to kill them. But many years later, I would, unfortunately, bump into a few rats, but the humankind. But we'll not get into that. So our childhood was quite good. Then I started going to Smithycroft Secondary School. And Smithycroft Secondary School, if anybody doesn't know it, was in Ridgeway, and it was right next to, well, everybody calls it the Big House, Berlini, which is soon to be knocked away. And I must say it can't come quick enough, because I looked at that school, I looked at that jail when I went to Smithycroft, and I didn't realise I was to be destined in it, to spend a lot of my youth in it and my later years. The place was a nightmare. And so anyway, we came from a good family. My mother was a worker and my dad was a worker. Two good people, try to look after us. And at that time in life, you didn't have nothing. This was the 60s, early 70s growing up. Not like nowadays, all the young ones have got computers and or the phones. There was nothing like that. So we used to just go out and play, and we'd play 2-man hunt and just all games in the street. And you'd get a peas and lemon curd if you were lucky, you know what I mean? But everybody was quite happy then, and people could leave their doors and all that opened. So my dad was a bit of a drinker, and one thing led to another. The police were always up at my ma's, and this time my ma had enough of it. And my dad, to say he was a strict disciplinarian, he definitely was. He kept us in check. There was the boys at the corner in Greenside Street with me and Gary and Alan. We wanted to hang about, but my dad, it was a good thing about him. He was strict, so there was none of that for us. So he eventually, my mum had enough, and he got kicked out of the house, and he wasn't even away. I think it was only 2 or 3 weeks at the most, and we started hanging about with the guys at the corner of Greenside Street, and they were on to stealing cars then because we were bored. There was nothing really to do then, you know what I mean, at the time. And before you know it, my poor wee ma, this was the beginning for her. I think she'd visited nearly every institution and jails in England, which was to come later. She would come down and the police would let us out. And to tell you the truth, if I'm being truthful here, we just took the cunt out, Mama. It's plain and simple. She couldn't handle it. And got a lot of regrets about that, you know what I mean? But everybody has when you start off in this life. So it just escalated for stealing cars, and we were breaking into shops. At that time, there wasn't a lot of alarms or cameras or people with phones, so it was quite easy then. But before a very short time, I got expelled from Smithycroft at the PE teacher, which advised the young ones today wouldn't be a good thing to do, you know what I mean? And I was up in front of the children's panel. I think they gave me a chance then, but after that, it was done with stealing a car. Then I went to court, and Glasgow Sheriff Court. I got 12 months residential training. So I ended up in a Kibble approved school. And at that time, I can honestly say it wasn't a nice place. But before that, I was in a place, Larch Grove. It was out at Ballarnock, just off the Edinburgh Roads. And that wasn't very nice at all. But these places weren't supposed to be nice. And the people who were running them were definitely no nice as well, know what I mean? So, going to this Kibble school, approved school, at night time, I was in a dorm at first and all that, and after 10 o'clock at night, you would hear boys crying for their mammy. And to tell you the truth, I was one of the boys as well, know what I mean? It was horrible, hated it. And but they weren't the fear. They weren't the prison officers. They were just, I don't know, but they wore all their own clothes. There was no uniforms that prison officers wear. But it was a horrible place, and that should have put me off. But it did. I ended up running away. You know what I mean? I think I was in it about 6 months, and while I was in there, when I did run away, I ended up getting caught again, stealing a car. So we a week or two, and police assault. Well, I get assaulted with the police. They always say that you assaulted them, so they could get a 2-week holiday in Tenerife, or at the time, I don't know if it was Blackpool, but that's the way things were then. But Gary, he followed me kind of soon after that. He ended up in approved school. He went to a place called Jalesland out in Beeve, and no long before him, Alan was the same. He ended up in St John's. That was down near Larchgrove. But what I'm going to try and talk about today, I'm going to try and be brutal and honest about these places. It wasn't places for young kids to get into, you know what I mean? And a lot of people I know as well over the years, they would be in police stations, and they'd wake up the next morning and they didn't know what they were in for. They were that drunk, drinking wine at the time. It was LD, and 4 Crown Sherry and all that. No, the Buckfast or the young team drink just now. And I was quite fortunate. When I woke up in the police station, it was either, when I was younger, it was car theft or police assault or whatever. But there was a lot of people I knew that woke up and they were in for attempted murder or a murder. And they didn't even realise what they'd done. And that was the drink. The drink had a lot to do with it, you know what I mean? People getting into trouble. But the main thing to do with it was carrying knives or Stanley blades, which I'm no angel. I used to do myself, mostly Stanley blades. And I'd have the cheek to go to B&Q and actually steal them, know what I mean? But at that time, I was becoming involved in the kind of a gang war scene at a young age. And I ended up getting Bosto as well. But Bosto, that was horrific as well, know what I mean? It was like a military camp. You get up early in the morning for your bed. You had to make this bed block, and you done bunny hops along to the gym. And if you went to see the governor, the screws at the time, they didn't wear uniforms either in Parliament. They were wearing suits and jackets and that. They would grab you by the scruff of the neck and just throw you in, name and number, to the governor. And it was Ali Cali I was in. It was called the Allocation Centre in Bosto. And you would get allocated to go somewhere. So I was only 16. No, I mean, I'd been up in Long McGend as well. Once I was captured for escaping from the approved school. I was just over 15. I was coming up for 16. And they gave me at the time 3 weeks Bosto and detention reports. So I was kind of hoping to get this detention. It was only 3 months Bosto. You could do anything from 9 months up to a year or sometimes longer. So I was at the Sheriff Court and 2 people for representatives for the Kibble School. They came to see me before I went into court. And they says, look, this is, you don't want to be going to this Bosto and all that. You know, the stories about it. And I was like, oh, right. But I'd already decided by then at that young age it was going to be a life of crime for me. I just don't know how I decided. I just decided. I just thought, well, somebody like me, I've no qualifications for school, and I'm not going to get a job or that. So they were trying to talk to me, and they says, look, we can get you in this place. It was a closed block. It was like an approved school, but it was a closed block where you were just in there. They says, we could get you 2 years in there. And I went, fuck, 2 years? I says, I've heard Boston, you could do 9 months for a year or whatever. So I just says, no, I'll just take my punishment. And they were saying, oh, it's bad and all the rest of it. But I was just saying, I ain't bother. But when I got there, it was bad. It was quite tough. So I got to Boston as well and continued. But with me, everything just escalated, as I say. It went for car theft, shoplifting, breaking into shops. Then I just started, I wanted to earn more money and I just went into jeweller shops, and I was running into jeweller shops, and I was just saying I was getting engaged, and I'd get smartly dressed and all that. I'd wear a pair of glasses and asked to see a tray of rings and just grab them. But before you know it, that escalated as well. In greedier, it was smashing shop windows as well, know what I mean? While they were open, just driving up in a stolen car and smashing grabs. And it got to the point that I'd nearly done every trailers in Scotland. I went over to England, over Hadrian's Wall, and plundered the English. But I can laugh about that now, but I'm nothing against the English. It was just, we'd run out of places to do in Scotland. So that was kind of my kind of offending rate. It was escalating right quick. But Gary, as I told you, he was in approved school. And he ended up getting sent up to a place in Aberdeen as well. And he escaped through there. He escaped as well. He couldn't stand it. There was a lot of brutality in that going on in these places. And while he was out for that, Gary ended up getting done. He stabbed somebody up in Barmillock at the Broomfield roundabout. And he got Borstal. I think he was only 17, know what I mean? And he was released for that. And his offending just got worse as well. It was with knives as well. And he'd been out for a night out. He went to, anybody knows, St Roch's Junior Football Club in Royston Road. There used to be a club, a social club. All the junior clubs used to have social clubs and that. So Gary went along there one time to this social club, and I got for this lassie, and the lassie says, "Come back to my house and all that." She made out she was single, and Gary says, "No, come back to my ma's." So he just went back to the lassie's house. I think it was the flats in Jermison. But little did he know, when the door opened, that this guy came to the door, and it turned out it was the lassie's boyfriend. She just took Gary down there for spite with the boyfriend to try and make him jealous, but it turned out kind of a tragic and worse. Gary had a Stanley blade on him, and it's told me he ended up slashing the guy's throat. Unfortunately, the guy never died, thank God. But speaking to Gary before I came down here, he was telling me a sort of things he was going to say, and he did say, do you know something? I fought for years and years about that night, slashing that guy's throat, because Gary was kind of into the gang culture as well. He says, I was just carrying that for the gangs, because my attitude, he was just trying to get in first before they got to him. But he's got a lot of regrets about that. And the big thing he says, and he's always fought about, he says, see if I never carried that Stanley that night. He says, I wouldn't have used it. He says, I'd probably have just been fighting with the guy. And that's the message I'm trying to get across just now to the young team. See if you get into this way of life and you're going to carry a knife, Stanley blade, whatever. You're going to use it in the most tragic circumstances. As I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, you'd probably be that drunk or that full of drugs. You maybe be one of these statistics. It wakes up in the police station and the police officer or whatever come to the door and you shout, you're waiting up for a stupor, and then you'll say, what am I in for? And the worst case scenario, they might say, well, you killed somebody. I know most guys have told you, they've no recollection at all. So Gary, his message, if he was going to be a day, is just don't carry it. Because if you carry it, there's a 99% chance you're going to use it. So when that happened to Gary, he was remanded to Long Weekends up at Green Gers. And that was a horrible place as well. No, I mean, that's well bulldozed as well. This would have been 1981. Gary was 18. He was only a few months short his 19th birthday. So he'd done a proof school, he'd done Borstal, stabbing somebody. And so I was in Long Weekend and he came in and a few of the guys were like, oh, your brother's the next day. They were like, oh, your brother came in last night. I was like, what? They went, news travels fast in these places. And I says, what's he in for? And he's attempted murder. And I was like, for fuck's sake, he's not that long out of Boston after stabbing somebody. And when I heard attempted murder, I was like, it's still bad, but I went, oh, it could have been murder. And as I say, he was carrying this because there was wee kind of a gang wars. But he's always regretted that. So after a few weeks, I was in trouble up there in Long Weekend, the prison officers in there, and I was always getting put into solitary. And this time I was in solitary. I think Gary was in about 4 weeks. We were trying to get banged up with each other, but they weren't having it. And Gary went to court this day, and I was out in exercise in Long Weekend. And I says, fuck it. I says, I'm going to get up on that roof. And I used to walk along this wee bit of distance, and there were a couple of screws there. And this pipe that leaded up to the roof was about halfway to this walk I'd done. I says, fuck it, I'm going to try and shimmy up there. Fuck it, I've had enough. I think I was 20 at the time. And I got up on the roof. I felt great. It felt great, so it did. Because I was like, fuck me, screws and all that, young boy thinking. I just started ripping slates up and I started throwing it at them, and they're all like, you ain't come down. I says, fuck off and all that. I says, no, I'm not coming down. Just to get another battering and all that. So Gary came back for court. He was away to court last day. I was up on the roof. Eventually, I get down for the roof, and he gave me a good batter, and they put me into the solitary bit in Long Weekend. There was only 3 cells there, by the way. And Gary heard this, and he went mental, and he started smashing his cell up and all that, and shouting, pardon my brother, blah, blah, blah. So I could hear a lot of commotion that night. People were screaming and all that, and I think Gary was throwing the furniture out his cell. And the next minute, I've heard all these screws bringing somebody down. And they got through in there and kind of shout, who's that? Who's that? And the screws are like, oh, shut up, you, and all that. And I went, open the fucking door. And they went, it's your brother. And I went, open the fucking door. They says, no. They said, we've already battered you. And I could hear them battering Gary in there. So they've all went away, and I've shouted, you all right? And they went, oh, my boys are killing me. Sorry for that. That's what he says. He says I had him his handcuffs were still in his back, and they were whacking into him and all that. And I says, I was telling them to open the door and all that, but they were shouting, we've already battered you, Ian. Shut your mouth. So the next day, we'd come into Gary's cell and all that, because I was screaming, you get somebody down there and see if he's okay, you know what I mean? They just left him lying naked there. So come down the next day and all that, and before you know it, our doors opened later on that day, and they took me and they put me in a van. I went, where am I going to? They says, oh, you'll find out when you get there, you wee cunt and all that. And the next minute, Gary's come into the van as well. So we were like, where are we going? And we were like, just shut up. And we were like, no, you just fucking shut up. We'd still with this bravado, you know what I mean? And I was like, we're going to Carstells and all that. It says, like, that would be the best place for you. But lo and behold, they took us down to Berlin. And like, where the fuck are we going there? You need to be 21. But they took us into this hall, and the screws says to us in Berlin, they says, in no uncertain terms, they says, right, you're going up to this hall. They put us in the same landing, about four doors away from each other. They says, right, you wee cunt. She says, any trouble down here? They says, you've come for a boys' playground up there in Long Weekend. They says, any trouble, any cheek, you're your cunt battered in. But that's the way Berlin was then, so just told us that. So we were there for a couple of months, and Gary was going to court this Friday. And I was like, I said, well, you'll be back on Monday. Trial will last a few days. And I thought he was going to get 4 years. 4 years in 1981 was a big sentence. But then I'd done a proof school, Bostow. I'd been in Glen young offenders. I'd done a couple of 3 months, 6 months. So not a lot. No, I mean, things that I could handle at that age. But in the jail at all, it wasn't good at all. No, I mean, you never had toilets. You never had the ones the kids have got the now. They've got Xboxes, they've got showers in the cell, Sky TV. We just had a piss pot. And you were lucky if you had a radio. But that was just the way it was then, you know what I mean? So that night, tea time, I was lying at the toilet, and this crew took me back, and they went, oh, your brother's doing it at reception. All right, I said, we're back at court Monday. He went, no, he's been sentenced. I says, what do you mean he's been sentenced? And I was flabbergasted. He turned around and went, 8 years. And I went, 8 years? Fucking hell, 8 years, 1981, a long time. So I says, can I see him? He went, no, I can't see him. Into the cell. So me and Gary used to go up to the bars. We were like two wee monkeys. And we used to shout at each other. So as soon as I was in the cell, I was shouting to see if he was back up. But it wasn't. Then I heard an hour later, he's shouting, Ian. So I've got up in these bars in Berlin in the cell. And he shouted, I get fucking 8 years a day and all that. He says, the trial finished that quick. He says, I think the judge was wanting to go away early for play golf or something. And I went, 8 years? I went, fucking hell, Gary. So he never says too much, but I went back down for the bars, and that night, I must say, I was lying in my bed, and I says to myself, fucking hell, I says, how's he going to get through that? 8 years? That's a long sentence. But little did I know, this was 1981. In 1991, I was going to get double that. So anyway, I was in for a charge, and I got 3 months for something, and back in my ma's house, and my wee ma, God bless her, she used to have a wee drink every weekend. She was on the whiskey, and every weekend she used to get drunk. She'd go, I'll never see my Gary again and all that. And I was like, oh, of course she will. But she did see him. But the big brother here, that's why I'm telling this story. In 1991, 10 years later, I get 16 years at the Old Bailey. And Gary was telling us, my wee ma, she was the same. Every weekend, having a wee drink. I'll never see Ian. But fortunately, she did. But the story I'm trying to tell, there's the victims, of course, the victims of these knife crimes and all the rest of it, their families that they've got to suffer if somebody's been killed and all that. And some people no get over it. No, I mean at all. Their son just goes out that night and murdered. But that could, to tell you the truth, I'm going to be honest, that could have been me when I was carrying knives. And just unfortunately, now I'm older and don't know if I'm wiser, and I'm just saying, thank God, you know what I mean? That I never killed anybody. That was just for the grace of God, just being lucky. But there's other victims as well. People carry out knife crimes. It's mostly the young team and all that these days. They don't think of the consequences. Obviously, there's a family of the victim. But a lot of people don't know that there's another victim as well, or victims. Like the people that's carried out the crime, a knife crime, their family suffer as well. I know it might be hard to say that for the victims' families, but these families, the young kids that carry out these crimes, whether it be their mother, their granny, their auntie, their brothers and sisters, girlfriend, they're victims as well, because they've got to go up to the jail and visit and all that, and there's some girlfriends that wait for people and some don't. So they are victims, and it's just sad. And through the years, I've been carried out a lot of knife attacks and that. I'm not proud to say no to say now, and I never ever thought of the victims of that. The people that I was getting, I don't know if it makes it sound better or whatever, the people I was trying to hurt, well, they were only trying to hurt me first, so I was trying to get in there first. But where's it going to end with knife crime? You know what I mean? I'm just on here, just try to, for my experience, I'm 63 now, and to tell you the truth, the way my life was going on, because when I get that 16 years sentence at the Old Bailey back in the 90s, and I'd done 10.5 years in there, I came out at 40 years of age, and in the jail, I never get any rehabilitation. I went to the jail in England where I'd done 9 years in Long Lartin, and I says to the officers in there, I says, what about me going to a C category or an open prison? And they went, you're no rehabilitation material. And I looked and went, what? They went, well, the first few years you were in trouble, but the last few years it's been yes or no, sir. I says, is that not the way it's supposed to work? That the first few years you're in there, you're trying to get used to it. Because when I was 30, up to that age, I'd only done 18 months. And I basically went to 18 years. I know I got 16 years, but I was done for carrying a gun as well before I got arrested in a Chinese restaurant. So it was a hell of a setting. It took me 5 years to settle in the nick. And I can tell you now, any of the young ones, it's what are you doing that path? It doesn't always end well. It doesn't, you know what I mean? You're in behind that cell, and in this day and age, as I've said, you might have the TV with the Sky, a shower, you've got a mobile phone, but see when that door shuts at 9 o'clock, you're left wondering, what's happening? How's my girlfriend out there? How's my wife? And how's the rest of the family? That's when your time kicks in, and rightly so. You're in there to be punished. You're in there, you can't expect to get out and start living your life, going to discos and going, you're in there to be punished, you know what I mean, away from society. If you do wrong, expect to be punished. And there's a lot of people out there go, oh, I'll never get caught, no that. Well, I can tell you now, you do. I used to think that. I came out, as I say, after 10 and a half years, and I thought about this, and I went, because see, the first few years I was in prison, I used to, the first, second, third year, I used to walk up and down my cell, and I used to be honest, I used to say, Mammy, Daddy, please let this black tunnel end. I'll never get in trouble again. But see, when I got to 5, 6, 7 years, I started going like that, well, that black tunnel is getting a bit lighter. And it was a wrong way to think. So I get moved up to Scotland for my last year, and I was in Shotts prison, and I says the same, went to the officers there and says, what about me going to an open prison, training for freedom? Because I have no life skills or that. The only thing I knew was it was crime. They were the same. This was way back in 2000, but they wouldn't get away with that now. You know what I mean? And rightly so, the jails, I must give them the plaudits for this. They're beginning to realise that you can't just lock somebody away in a cell, then just throw them out like a wild animal, really. It has got to be rehabilitation and teaching them life skills for getting out there, and instead of getting back into a life of crime. And the sooner this prison up in HMP Glasgow, up in Royston Road, up where I came from, is opened, the better, because I've been told that that's going to be a focus, rehabilitation and getting people educated, which is a good thing. Because a classic person, they thought he wasn't rehabilitated material. He was a guy way back, Jimmy Boyles, a lot of people know. And he did learn a lot of life skills. He took up sculpturing, and he must be one of the. There's been a lot of people, but high-profile persons that did come out and made a life over 40 years ago. So he was a success. And so I think that's the only way to go, is teaching the youngsters. But the main thing would be is, if you put that knife or Stanley blade or that in your pocket, you're going to use it. And you might be that full of drugs or drink. As I say, you might be one of these statistics that does wake up in the morning in the police station. And you get told the dreadful news, you've killed somebody. And are you prepared to do all that time? The simple thing is, you'll need to do it. And even though you've got all that stuff in your cell, it's the families. The families suffer a lot, you know what I mean? But when I was in that, I had a partner, and after 5 years, I was in full sitting prison in York, just near York in England. And I was on the phone one night, and she says to me, she says, it's over, and I've had enough. I wasn't too happy, but what can you do? So the young ones, if you just want to listen, for me, it's been through it. I don't know why I'm still here, but I'm here, and I'm just trying to let you know it's not a glamorous life. Well, I'll get into another bit, but when I got released, when they told me I was in the rehabilitation material, so I got it. My mother came up and picked me up in this big fancy limo and all that. I didn't know they were coming up with that, you know what I mean? And sauntered back into Black Hill, a B-list movie, you know what I mean? And I ended up just picked up where I left off 10 years ago. I just started gradually getting back into crime again. And because I was in these places, some of these places are universities of crime, and I kind of learned a bit. And I wanted all the good things that everybody had. Oh, the dear training shoes at £200 and £300, all the good clothes, travelling the world, all the fancy cars. And after I was out a few months, I'll be honest, that sentence never deterred me. Even though I think back now to when I first got it, it killed me, and I was like, oh, Christ, how am I going to get through this? But as I say, once the years pass by, so I get back into it, and I thought I was Jack the Lad, you know what I mean? I did. I had a flat in the West End, and I was spending a lot of money on drugs, and steady investing it in different things. I was investing it in me and other people taking drugs, and I'm not ashamed to say that I became an addict of cocaine. I had that much money, but where does that much money get you? You're just spending, and you're showing off and sitting with people, but see when that money runs out, where is it, people? You can talk to everybody, every single person says, when you've the money, you've spending everybody else and you've no got it. Where's the people? They're nowhere to be seen. No, I mean, that's another kind of a lesson to try and learn. But I just went from bad to worse on that as well, you know what I mean? I developed an addiction, and it wasn't going to end well, you know what I mean? I was going to either be found dead of drugs, or I was going to end up in the jail, you know what I mean? So,
couple of minutes to go, mate.
Okay, so the big message I'm trying to get across is, see if you pick this life of crime, you might think, oh, I'm getting away with it and all that. But yeah, you get away with it for a wee while. But something always happens, as I say, especially through the drug route, you know what I mean? Being Jack the Lad. It's either going to be the jail or the grave. So I would advise the young ones, I'll finish off with this. I used to think, getting a job and all that, nah, too many years, you've got to get this and that. But see, what I've realised in the long term, see the young ones getting a job, say you even start off McDonald's, a lot of people go to McDonald's and they see their pals getting all this fancy stuff for crews and the good clothes and the training shoes and everything else. But do you know what I've came to realise? See the people that do get a job in McDonald's, then they get themselves a wee apprenticeship and they work and they see other pals that's been Jack the Lad in a life of crime. I think that's great. They'll end up seeing them after a few years or 10 years. Where are they? They're in the jail or they're in the grave through that life of criminality. But see the ones that go on the right path and the straight path. I know a lot of people now. Even people that I was brought up with. And I used to go, oh, fucking working and all that. Now they've got big houses. They've even got a wee holiday flat in Spain. That's all with hard work. So what I'm trying to say today is the young team, if you want to listen to this, that there is another way and it's hard work. Something that I didn't know what I mean? And I just wish a lot of the young ones will listen to this, because see all the time spent in the jail and all that, and all the weekends banged up where you can be out there. It's just not worth it. And I'm glad I'm still alive today. I don't know how, know what I mean? But I'll finish off on this, and I hope a lot of the young ones have listened and they go on that straight path. It's okay, we'll leave it at that.